This campaign is the best campaign I have ever played in a board game. Even the very first mission has more unique gameplay elements going on in there and game mechanics than any 3 missions in Zombicide. I miss a lot. You would be amazed how many times I roll a 1 or a 3 or a 2 or some sad little number like that, and I'm gonna miss. None of it's great, and some of it's actively kind of bad. Who goes when and who is where and what they do matter to a great degree. Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm going to be finally reviewing Arena the Contest by Dragori Games. This is a game that went on my radar very early in my Kickstarter career, and I'm just now finally able to tell you guys about it, and so I'm excited to do that. Before we do, though, as always, if you appreciate these reviews or my Kickstarter videos or anything like that, be sure to subscribe if you haven't. It does help a ton. It really does. YouTube loves it when you do that, at least the algorithm does. And also, if you like cool shirts like this, link in the description below for the link to cool shirts like this. All right, let's get to it. Alright guys, this is kind of the main spread of the game that you're playing. This is a PvP style game, but there's also PvE. On the flip side of this board is kind of a blank grid where you can put the different tiles that you want and do whatever layout you want, which is a lot of fun to just kind of design a board and try and figure out choke points or something like that, or just make, rooms, or like maybe you're building a whole area, like this is all open and like fire pits or lava pits, and then this is all buildings, or you can do all sorts of different things to just kind of make it different, make it interesting, stuff like that. I'm not going to go in detail on the gameplay specifically. I'm not going to it'd just be a long review, and I don't want to do that to you guys. I'm sure there are other videos that can explain the rules more in depth. But I'm going to just do a kind of a quick summary here. So essentially you're going to be picking out a team, and more on that in a little bit, of characters, up to, I believe, 4 on each side. And each one has a different color, which you can see, which represents a different class. And they just kind of act differently. They have different health pools, different stats. So every red character will have the same hit points, basic attack, defense, and movement. They'll also all have the same passive. That passive is unique to them, along with this combination of numbers going to be unique to them. But each individual person's going to have 2 silver and 2 gold attacks. One is just kind of your main attack, the ones that you can do every single round, and then these are your special attacks. These you'll use this for. This is a special ability token. You can flip it over to no special, so if she were to use rapid fire, I would have to flip this over, and then it would go to this person, and he would not be able to use barbaric rage or whirlwind. And then when it went back to my next guy off screen here, it would flip back to special ready, and then they could use special ready, so on and so forth. This is used for a few other things in the game, but for the most part, you're trying to plan when to use your special moves and know what order it is, because this order is finite. So it'll go her, him, and then this person. And then, for the other team, it'll be her, and him. And then that's just kind of how it'll be. If somebody dies, then they just alternate. So they'll go kind of faster or more often, but it'll always kind of go in the same order left to right, regardless of anything else. Now, you can do all sorts of stuff. You can apply status effects. You can get knocked into terrain. You can interact with different objects. You can down people. You can revive people. You can heal people. You can buff them. You can debuff. You can do all sorts of fanciness. Again, I'm not going to go into that. It's quite nuanced. There's a lot here in this game. It's definitely not a light game. It's very high on strategy and all that. What I am going to do is go ahead and just start with the very beginning. And the very beginning is the rule book. Okay, so what do I think about the rule book? Well, the rule book is actually laid out quite nice. So if I go here to, let's say, page 5 here, and if you look here, you have how to use this rule book, the structure of it. It talks about a section. It'll talk about references and how it does that with like the kind of parentheses and how it'll use that. It talks about special symbols. They'll use PvP exclusive rules, advanced rules, optional increments to the game and changes, and then cooperative title and rulebook and stuff like that. It'll actually use different colors, like words in dark green are introductions, words in dark blue are examples, how they capitalize, how they use EG. All of this is fantastic. As a software engineer, I read a lot of specs for a lot of different, which is like a specification document for a lot of different technologies. And you can tell the ones that are just kind of bare minimum and the ones that go into this where they really kind of break out how they're actually going to like use this as a book that you use. And so that's huge and awesome and fantastic. I love the fact that they have this planned. It's great. Additionally, I'm going to flip through here, but there's various call outs, like this is talking about turn order, different examples of different things, just a lot of different, kind of tables and side things and, movement and call outs and some wonderful art and just other things. Again, the level of detail on the examples can be quite advanced. Sorry about the glare there, but this is just talking about range and stuff like that. Just really, really, really well done when it comes to layout and stuff like that. Now, it is not perfect. For instance, you'll notice it doesn't really have a component list in here. And not only that, but a component list with images preferred, as always. I would always like to have a component list with images. It'll have this kind of list here, but if you don't know what the sniper figures are, then the knowing that there's 3 of those versus 3 soldier figures doesn't really help if you don't know the difference between the two per se. I like to have images if I can help it. Additionally, there is no alphabetized index with multiple pages listed. So the last page here is, just about, different changes to difficulty levels, because you can have Daydream, Normal, and Nightmare if you wanted. So they have this index here. This index is a translation thing. Really, it's a table of contents because it's not alphabetized. It's just based off the headers, and there is no multi-page list. And so you won't see that, this was, quest rewards are listed on 37, 15, and 22. You won't know that here. So, a lot of this kind of stuff I've already given feedback to. They're going to fix it in the upcoming Kickstarter campaign, the Tenaris expedition or adventure expansion, whatever the E is there. I can't remember. But either way, rulebook, overall, very nice. Could use an index, could use some component lists. And also, actually, before I go on with that, there are a few oddities. It's not big, but I'm nitpicky like this. So a lot of times, well, really all the time, when they're making this as a PDF. And a PDF scrolls up and down, right? You don't have the left and right pages. And they'll refer to different spots. Like, for instance, here, you can see here, midpoint. This small circle indicates a horizontal half of the battle grid to ease the deployment of heroes, step D above. Well, obviously, that's not above anymore, right? This is now a page. So step D above is actually right here on the other page. So anytime just in general, for future reference, any game developer, this is free for you. When you are converting your PDF to an actual book, do a search for every above, below, right or left. A lot of times we'll like see the right or see left, for example, or whatever. And all of those kind of directional things probably need to be updated when you actually print the book. Again, very minor, but something I notice every time I read a rule book and they do that, because I instantly think, that's from the PDF, and it kind of snaps me out of the actual rules there. All right, so the rule book's out of the way. You've done your first experience with the game. Next is actually the consumer level layout of it. Like, what do we have to deal with here? And I must say, this is very, very good and a strong first entry from Dragori Games here. This is a really nice kind of set of game trays here. It's the actual game trays, but really just the thoughtfulness around it. So you have like your big dragon here, and he's kind of got a little cubby here. It might be a little finicky to grab this out, but it's not terrible. Each tray, or at least the top two, have a lid. It's all fancy and, has an image there. That's whatever. I don't care so much about that. But all of these have trays, and they tend to have enough lip where they're not sliding around everywhere. So this is where you'd keep your cards. You're going to see stuff here that's not in the core box. My apologies, I have it all mixed up. You have way more cards than you even need, or slots than you even need, if you want to separate them more than I have here. I kind of separate them just a little bit. All the miniatures have a custom shaped storage tray, a little slot here. None of it is snap-in, so they just kind of fit in there. But they, they don't. None of them are broken or anything like that. You have little trays for your like health trackers and stuff like that. Let me put the lid back on. That's like the first level. And the second level, and again, I have this half set out, so you're not going to see everything here. But in this one, you have all of your like enemies from the core box. Again, more slots for a tray there. You can see the indentation here, which is quite nice. Some more of these, more cards, more card slots, and of course all of your enemy miniatures. Keep this kind of organized here. And then at the bottom, and I'm just going to kind of lift up here to show you, you have, whoop, something falling here. Anyway, this all does fit, so oh, there we go. This is your save slots. These are our characters for our campaign. I have her out, actually. That's why her cards aren't here. But you can, as you can see, have plenty of space here to store your cards, and you'll have different equipment and level up cards and artifacts and whatnot. All of your different trays, overlays. Your dice go here. This is the only bummer. These are really hard to get out. Like, I struggle to get these out. Your chests went here. Either way, very good, very well thought out storage solution that I am quite happy with from a consumer standpoint. I think it's very helpful. I like that there's several trays. You can just pull the trays out, and it's like, hey, this is a heroes tray, so all the hero stuff goes here. Other ones, all the enemy stuff can go there. All that's really, really helpful. All right, now, if you hadn't noticed, the art here is just gorgeous. I don't know who did their art, but props to them. Just the quality here is really, really good. It's all bright and like very good fantasy-like, and it looks just real enough without being like photorealistic, but very, very good art. And that's just across the board. Does all of it, especially the character art, just looks great. It all does, and it's all really, really good. I think you saw the, the back here. It just really, really good art. I've been very impressed with the art in this game. It's all fantastic. Every single piece of it. It's just very, very impressive. I would love an art book on this. So if there's ever a thing where I can get art, I'm definitely going to get it, because I am very impressed with it in this game. It's very, very good. Very happy with it. Just quality stuff. And really, it's like, it's on even all the cards. It's on pretty much everything you touch. Is just great. Okay, so next from art is miniature quality. And this is going to be the first really big negative here. The first run of this game has some okay-ish miniatures, right? Disregarding his tiny, tiny hand. Detail-wise, pretty okay. Not terrible. But none of it's great. None of it's great, and some of it's actively kind of bad. And so it just really, it's kind of lackluster. Now, the sculpt design is actually great. I really dig it. I love her flowing, skirt thing here. I love how her hands are open and come to her side and bent. I love, the orc just swinging this heavy axe full swing. Pulled back archer bow. It's all actually really good. Samurai swordsman in kind of a sword fighting pose. They have, certain poses where they're ready to go into motion. So the sculpt design, great. Detail-wise, none of them are good. Or none of them, I guess, are really great. Some of them, I'll say none of them are good. Some of them are passable, and some of them are terrible. Now, again, I've been talking with them, and actually, they're going to be, I'm not going to announce it or anything, but they're going to be upping their game a ton with the miniatures in the second one. I know the manufacturer they're going through because I suggested it, and it's going to be great. Trust me. But until then, the first one, I have to say, not good. I'm looking forward to reviewing the new ones when they come in, but these are some of the worst minis I have. Now, additionally, another kind of interesting thing here, and it's a negative, but caused by a positive. So there's a lot of variety in the game. I'm going to get into the campaign stuff here in a little bit, But you're going to be fighting different things pretty much every single mission. There's not really a lot of repeat. It's not like you're fighting goblins for the first half of the game, or, little kobolds or anything like that, rats or wolves or what have you. None of that's the case. You're going in and fighting vampires and skeletons and orcs and zombies and all sorts of other stuff. And it's all going to be changing all the time. And you're going to have like special units like, oh, this is like a skeleton king or a warlord here or something like that. And, sometimes or oftentimes you're going to be repeating miniatures, even with all the Kickstarter exclusive ones, which helps a ton. Core box though, you're just getting sentinels and snipers and a warlord, and they represent orcs, they represent zombies, they represent everything. With the Kickstarter exclusives, you get some of those skeletons and zombies and orcs and ghost dwarves and, all sorts of craziness like that. It's not quite enough. Sometimes you'll have to still use other miniatures, and especially on the important characters like the guy in charge, the lieutenant, or anything like that. You're going to be using this miniature a lot to represent various amounts or various different enemies. And it's kind of a bummer, just because those are kind of the big baddies. You want some cool guy, and instead you're just fighting this miniature again. But this time he's a vampire, and next time he's a skeleton, and then he's an orc, and then a golem, or whatever. And so that's kind of a bummer. I would have loved the option to purchase an add-on that gave me unique miniatures for those special guys, if nothing else. I guess it's kind of a blessing in disguise that it wasn't on the first Kickstarter, because the miniature quality definitely needs to be improved. But for the second one, I'd be all about that. I'd be fine with that. Just because if I'm going to spend this much money on a game, I want it to really just really be impressive. And it is impressive, but then there's a little quirk like using this guy all the time that I don't care for as much. All right, so let's talk about the board itself for a little bit. I love the layout of it. Here's that little center dot that I kind of mentioned, and that's because when you're playing PvP, you'll have half to you and half to them when it comes to setting up your characters. But there's all these walls and altars that buff, and terrain pieces and bridges and line of sight breaking walls and teleporters that teleport you around. And you get a lot of these in like cardboard. So on the flip side, you can make it again however you want. You can have 4 different teleporters that you're, teleporting around everywhere, doing all sorts of stuff. It's just a lot of fun. There's the health tracker here, and you notice it goes all the way up to 70, and actually bosses will have like 288 or some junk like that. So you have to loop around it several times. It's very nice to kind of, really kind of feel the impact of getting hit or then healed back up, or, just all that kind of stuff. It actually has the kind of, A, B, A through P, and then 1 through 24, stuff for setup if you really need it. So if something needs to be set up in a certain way, because all the missions will tell you specifically like this goes here and this goes there and that does that. And I'll show you that again in a little bit, but it helps to be able to know it's 12C, right? And so that helps with placement a ton. I'm really, really happy about that as well. Just overall, very, very happy with it. Now, I will say, speaking on the board, that I would have liked more terrain types. And again, that's just the RPG lover in me. I get that. But, like you can get knocked into lava and it hurts, right? Obviously. It would kill you. They don't die. You just get hurt. But I would have loved to see, tall grass and hills and tar pits and ice and, just stuff like that. Swamp areas, or just, various other things. There's more than just here. There's some like rock piles and stuff like that. But I would have loved to see a wider variety of terrain, both to change the locale a little bit besides just the art. Again, you can buy like a winter version of this that has a different layout and that sort of stuff. But also just to kind of change things up. So if you're in the ice area and you're slipping on ice, and so if you stop on an icy slide or something like that, it's just fun. It's just little things like that to add to the strategy and change things up. Not that they need a lot of changing up. Again, more on that in a bit. Okay, so I'm going to talk about picking your characters here. And what I love about this is just how varied it is. So I'm going to show you just a little bit here. So like Niari, the hunter, she's a shooter type. That's the blue here. They're some of the weakest with only 55 health and 6 defense, and it just kind of normal movement. The passive ability for them is accuracy. So if they hit a target from at least 5 squares away on your first hit of your turn, then the person takes 4 extra damage. And then, of course, she's got Twin Shot, which can hit up to 2 enemies 8 squares away, or Explosive Arrow that's 8 squares, 1 enemy, but they get a +2 bonus to her roll, and then you may move the target 1 square. So again, you can explode them back into some lava or something like that. Her special ones are like Perfect Hunt, 8 squares, all enemies in a straight line, just line them up. Rapid Fire is 8 squares, up to 3 enemies. You do 13 damage per hit. You're just, spamming them like that. She's very good at ranged, right? And then you have Katara the Barbarian here, who has Whirlwind and Barbaric Rage and 65 health points. Brutality, where you hit a target that isn't adjacent to any of your allies. So if you're on your own, you actually do more damage. So they just run straight up to the line and they want to fight like here. They want to take the battle to them. They'll be doing more damage. You just keep, this guy back there buffing them or making them toughened or something like that. Should be good unless this guy teleports behind and gets them. There's a ton of strategy in the game itself. What I want to talk about is builds though, because this is almost like deck building with all these characters. There's actually quite a few. There's a good chunk of them, especially if you get the expansion. And you can do stuff like what I call Team Dead or mobile infantry or speed attacks, or you can have people who are just movement and they just move and attack. You can have Team Dead where people can revive. And so for instance, there's somebody who when they actually revive, that you get back your special abilities. So what you want to do is use them, die, have that person revive you, and then suddenly you're doing better. You have a necromancer that can do all sorts of stuff with, once people are dying and stuff like that. So you can really tailor your team around some very interesting things, and everybody's unique, because if I picked a barbarian, or a brute, then the other people can't pick a brute. I've picked a brute, so there aren't 2 brutes fighting each other or something like that. You get all the classes to kind of interact, whether it's the buffer or healers, or the manipulators, or the tanks, or the shooter type. It's really, really good, and just theory crafting different teams and different setups is something, especially in the PvP, is really, really great. These cards here add so much to what they're able to do. So for instance, I had one where I had one of the orange characters. I forget their type. They're kind of the technical type. And then I also had a shooter, and both of them were single damage dealers. So they weren't a lot of area of effect, but they hurt a single enemy a lot. So they can just, zap somebody. And additionally, they both have a permanent debuff, where essentially you're going to lay your card down on the enemies, and they're going to get damaged every time. So what they do is right at the beginning, they launch those, and then against your tank or whatever. And so the tank's just getting hurt every single turn, unless they have a healer that can debuff them, or somebody to revive them afterwards, because the ability would fall off after they're dead. And so I get that on them, and then I just DPS them like crazy. They're very fragile, but they can take something like a key character out, like a tank that can charge in and do a ton of damage. Literally, I think she has a charge, with really good efficiency. And that's just one of them. There are tons of stuff you can do. It's really, really good. And it's hard to explain without going into very nuanced detail. And I'm trying not to do that, but you can do different combinations where the barbarian's going to have, debuff the target, and then I'm going to follow up with my character here, because you pre-plan this. So I could have laid them down like this if I wanted to, right? In other words, I always want the shooter to follow the brute. And so you can do that where it's like he's going to attack and debuff, and then she's going to attack the debuffed person and do all the damage. Or he's going to rearrange them because he has a lot of stuff that can move them, so that she can do her perfect hunt straight in a line and attack all 3. Or he's going to move them all into the lava or something like that. Or there's a ton of different stuff you can do there. And again, it's just all so good. Now, I talked briefly about the passives here, and I just wanted to say how nice they really are. They're just really, really good. So for instance, like, so tanks, and all tanks will have the same passive, but they're very strategic. Circle of Protection. An enemy starts its turn adjacent to you, and their first attack isn't you. The enemy takes a -2 penalty to its first roll and 4 damage. Okay, so you can combine a lot of this kind of stuff. So, for instance, there's a class that has it where if you're not attacked, then they take damage. And so what you want to do is pair it with a tank so that no matter what they're going to do damage, either they're going to, and it's just when they start their turn. So let's say that I was here. Now I could escape, right? I could escape them and let's say attack her. She's on my team, but whatever. Just even though I moved and then attacked her, it doesn't matter because I started here and I hit her, then it counts. And so I would take the damage. And so I'm putting them in the wrong spot now. Very, very cool. And again, you can combine it with the person who, if you're not attacked, then you're in trouble. And so it's like, well, do I attack the person or do I attack the tank? And of course, the tank is super defensive and has a ton of health. I can probably DPS this person down, but I'm going to get damaged 4 and get a debuff -2 to my 2 hit all the time. And that's just no fun. Now, how combat works, and this is, I like it and it's fine. It's not a lot of like, you're not jumping up like, yes, I did it. Like there's not a lot of that going on. It's not that kind of, I guess, swinginess. Essentially, you have a defense and you have a die, and all you're trying to do is beat their defense. I need to beat 6. I got a 13. I did my damage, whatever it was. If I'd gotten a 4, I would not have. You can get debuffs like the -2, or you can get buffs to it and stuff like that. But that's really how it works, right? You move, you got your attack versus defense, you're rolling the die pretty much normally just once, unless it's a rapid fire, and maybe you're attacking 3. So you got to roll 3 different times. 18, 11, why couldn't I roll this all the time? And then you just take the damage. And so it's pretty straightforward there. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm a fan of fast-paced combat, and that it's not this nuanced thing where it's like, oh, I roll this, and I check this, and that allows me to, okay, so I'm going to do the re-roll, and then that's that. But I'm going to actually flip this die because I have an ability there, and then because I'm positioned here, like it's none of that. It's just you attack them, and you either did damage or you didn't. Speaking of damage, one of my favorite things here is residual damage. So I am a bad roller. I miss a lot. You would be amazed how many times I roll a 1 or a 3 or a 2 or some sad little number like that, and I'm going to miss. And these special abilities that I mentioned are one-time use. You flip it over. You can't use it again unless there's an ability that allows you to or an item that allows you to. So it's a one-time thing. So if you attack with this and you miss, well, that sucks for you now, doesn't it? Well, not quite. Because you'll see right here, there'll be a miss. In this case, it says miss all. The last miss target takes 15 residual damage. So even if I miss with the whirlwind, the last person that's in that attack sequence takes 15 damage. So your specials will do typically 15 damage, and your regular attacks will typically do 5 residual damage. But either way, and you can get items, I'm going to talk about that in a moment, that can buff it. But it helps so much because you're always doing something. It's never really wasted. So if I go to attack you, you are taking damage. If I'm saying I'm doing a special, you are at least taking 15 damage, if not more, plus effects and all that kind of stuff. And the effects and benefits are kind of great too. So you have like a benefit here where I may move up to 5 squares. Meanwhile, you may strike each target at any time. So in other words, he's spinning and attacking everybody, right? But you can get benefits to a bonus. You can have different effects happen. You can do there's a lot of stuff that can happen. You can even have a drawback, right? So in this one, the miracle, he has to take 10 damage before striking, right? That's, maybe worth it, maybe not. You can have permanent effects where you can choose an ally within range and against 4 HP whenever it declares an attack on its turn. Hey, that's sweet, right? Just get healed every time you attack. There's a lot of different stuff you can do. And again, it's all very nuanced and when and why you want to do it, but you're always going to get that hit. And that's so important in a game like this, especially when it's down to 1 die roll, right? You're not doing these re-rolls. So it's like you either hit or you didn't. Well, look at that. That was a 1. See, I told you. Well, now my whirlwind's useless, except it's not. It still did 15 damage. All right. Now real quick, I want to talk about artifacts and scrolls. And so these are like very cool items, and I'm missing a lot of the level 1s because I already have them equipped. Boots of Sickness, a spectral weapon, a sun orb, a belt of shadows, a thunder staff, ring of invulnerability, and these all let you do special things. Sun orb, every time you strike during a special attack, roll twice and apply the best result. Well, now that's good. It means it's less likely that I'm going to miss. Or, you could get Ring of Invulnerability. You're immune to damage and new effects from enemy hero special attacks. You're immune to new effects from foes, villains, and bosses, ignoring the Overlord pokes. Or Dragon Shield. You are immune to residual damage. That's awesome. So if you have this, even if they attack you, and if they missed, you know what? You have the Dragon Shield. You're not going to get hit even with that 15. If your original defense stats is 6, gain +1 to defense. So equip that to Katara the Barbarian, and now his defense is 7. So not only to hit him, they have to beat a 7, but on top of that, even if they don't, you're not even going to take any residual damage. There's all these kind of great cards. At the start of your turns, you may move any number of combatants adjacent to you 1 square each. Ignore lava spikes and ruined swamp tiles. That can be super helpful as well. And that's just the artifacts. Then you also have the scrolls, and there are a ton of scrolls. Every single one of these cards is unique. Now, that doesn't mean that not all of them are, and some of them are kind of similar, but seriously, there's a ton here. Fast Runner usage, start of your turn or an ally's turn. This scroll ignores the team token. You target yourself or an ally and affects you. Your target regains 7 HP, and the target may spend its move action to move up to 12 squares if it ends a square adjacent to an enemy. So you can suddenly get healed and suddenly be next to somebody. What a great card. Planar Dance, start of you or an ally's turn. Target yourself or an ally. The target gains 8 HP. The target may swap places with an ally within 5 squares. Anytime you see shared art, they have a similar vein in it, but they'll be slightly different. Transfer Essence, start of a combatant's turn. Target any combatant. The target regains 6 HP or takes 6 damage. This can't lower the HP below 1, and the target can make its own attacks. Can't make its own attacks. Instead, it may make any of its living enemies' primary attacks. So suddenly you just kind of swap that out. Fair Combat. Start of an enemy's turn. The target takes 9 damage. This can't lower the HP below 1. Benefits from the target's primary attacks don't apply this turn. You can just debuff somebody's benefits if they have something that helps them. Lifelink. Anytime, including after an attack roll, you may transfer up to 15 HP from one target to another, but none of them may end up with less than 1 HP, and then one of the targets regains 7 HP. So there's all these different cards. Again, they all do different stuff. Some are great, some are fantastic, and some are, but there's a ton here, and you can use them all. These are all one-time use. The artifacts stay with you. And again, being able to pick those either for a PvP match or during the campaign is great. On top of that, you get more. So you get these heroic actions. And again, all of these are different. The heroic actions let you do all sorts of really cool stuff. Heroic Sizeism. Spend a prime action, ignore vision and range. No rolls required. All enemies take 5 damage each. You may move any number of combatants 2 squares each. Again, huge, especially because you can move them into bad spots or whatever, or even next to your tank so they're stuck there or something like that. Heroic Magic. Spend a prime action, ignoring vision and range, no rolls required. An enemy takes 10 damage, and then choose one. Revive an ally and place it within 5 squares of you with 10 HP and no special attacks, or regain a removed permanent effect, or regain a primary or attack or special attack. Heroic Revival, Heroic Inspiration. Transfer 1 permanent effect from a combatant to another, and the combatant regains 16 HP or takes 16 damage. So you can use that offensively or defensively. There's all sorts of that kind of stuff, and it's all really, really fun. Okay, so I've kind of alluded to this, and I think you've kind of seen a lot, even without me explaining in detail, in nuance, all the gameplay, is that both the PvP and PvE versions of this game play highly strategic. And I mean, really strategic. Who goes when, and who is where, and what they do matter to a great degree. So I just randomly place these, right? And what's kind of nice about, and they could have probably done that, right? She has this charge ability, and maybe you put her first. So if you put her first thing she can do is charge right to their big damage dealer. The red guy's going to do a ton of damage, and right near their healer, right? But their healer's placed here because on the altar he's going to get a buff, and he can just kind of kind of keep him buffed and toughened and stuff like that. They could have picked a different person that did a lot of healing. They could have picked the bard if they have the expansion. The bard can either debuff her or buff them or heal. She's just singing songs. She can even attack with songs. It's a bard. What are you going to do? Ranger here, she's placed well because she can attack, pretty much anybody here. But you know what? They put this guy who's, can do all sorts of really fast damage right next to the portal. So he might portal in and then come around and get her that way, or come over there. Their portal's a little bit more blocked, so that's kind of good. But you know what? She's also going to be doing all the damage here. And again, she's on an altar and can probably already still attack from there, depending on if she moves at all. There is so much there. Maybe you need a break off so you can, kind of get away and then come and open the chest because that'll heal you or get you an item or something like that. I talked about the placement, now anytime he does move and tries to attack anybody else, he's going to get damaged. So she's kind of locked him in there. And like I said, he's not as, strong as her when it comes to his defenses. So there's all this kind of really, really cool stuff. But, maybe he'll do his whirlwind because that's what's a move. So he's going to attack her, so he won't get the defense, but he'll also end up like over here. And so then he's finally broken away and attacked, so he didn't get any damage or waste a move. All that kind of stuff is just, it just oozes that. And then picking out your heroic actions or your scrolls or your artifacts and then choosing who to equip it with. It's insane the amount of strategy that this game has. It very much feels like, especially with the residual damage and all that it's not so much random. It has the randomness in it to make it kind of fun, different, and exciting, and not super deterministic, but it is strategic, and the smartest player tends to win. And it's very rare for you, especially if you do tend to roll bad or you're concerned about that, you can get those artifacts to allow you to re-roll. You can do different things. You can pick characters that allow you to get multiple chances. Like the rapid fire, right? Up to 3 enemies. You can attack the same enemy 3 times. So why not? Let's do that. There's all sorts of just very fascinating things with this game. And that's not including the PvE stuff, which adds boss spells and enemy auras and villains and all sorts of other scenario rules, which I'll get into here shortly. All right, so the next section is going to have some very minor spoilers, just because I need to talk about the scenarios and the quests, because it's something that really sets this game apart, is a standout thing in it, and one of the big pros in my mind, and I can't properly do a review without talking about it. Now I'm just going to be talking about the first few, and no story details or anything like that. I'm just talking about the fact that in this quest guide, even the very first mission has more unique gameplay elements going on in there and game mechanics than any 3 missions in Zombicide. It is seriously, seriously good. So let's go ahead and just take a brief look here. So you're going to have a campaign tome. If you're doing the campaign, you can do these one-off. And so you're going to be reading story and making decisions and doing things through here. More on that in a bit on the campaign. I'm just talking about kind of game mechanics and playing it here. And then eventually it'll say, go to this campaign. So let's go to the Lava Citadel, which is the very first one, right? This is literally what they talked about on the Kickstarter, but now it's all finalized here. Again, you have a war chief, Cordal, who's a warlord figure. Like I said, you're going to be using him all the time this time he's an orc, can't you tell? Anyway, in this, you're going to be coming up from, here, and there's instantly going to be some guards right here. Like, okay, so we got to take care of those guards. So, and there's lava pits and walls and all sorts of stuff. So you're going to take care of those guards, and there's going to be these 3 prisoners. And you're going to have different things, like primary objective is to kill him, right? You're going to get AXP to kill him. Secondary objectives are to rescue 3 prisoners, destroy the arcane orb, and any surviving heroes. So there's this orb here, this stupid little orb, and it's a magical defense system. It's going to be attacking you at the end of each turn. So you essentially have to go and try and rescue these if you can. You can get the chest if you can, but really what you need to do, the only thing you need to do is come over here, and there will be 2 levels here, and you have to flip them and in consecutive turns, and they're way far apart. So you're going to have to split up a little bit and kind of get those. That'll unlock the door, which will have the warlord and his 3 guards in there, and then you have to kill him. That's all you have to do. Now, while you're doing that, you can try and rescue them, and they probably matter for the story. So it's not just an XP, it's not just a mindless thing. You're going to be able to talk to this guy later, or you're going to be able to talk to this guy. And if you didn't save him, you don't get his card. You have no idea what he was going to say. You have no idea if he was going to help you. He may have been the missing link to a future puzzle or something like that. You just don't know. Maybe you just want to go and take that out, and, just knock it out. It's past him, so you're going to have to really kind of deal with him, because the moment he's dead, the game's over. So you're going to have to either deal with that some other way, or maybe not, but either way, this is kind of like a ticking time bomb too, because it's constantly attacking you. So you can't just spend your time here. You really have to kind of rush. And then it's like, well, we could go back. We didn't get this guy, right? Because he's kind of out of the way. We just kind of went straight here and here, and we got this guy who was on the way. We could go back and maybe get him. Could we go all the way back and get him? I don't know. This is attacking us each time. We could open the door and try and get him, but then we definitely don't have enough time to go back and get him. So, you're doing all that kind of stuff. And even more so, when you actually rescue any of the prisoners, and there's an event that happens, and so there's an orc ambush, and so suddenly you're attacked by orcs in there. That's just the first mission. And again, it's very advanced, and there's tons of different stuff that's going on there, and just a lot of fun. So then maybe again, some more stories, some puzzle, whatever. And then you go to the second one, Blood Castle. This is probably the last one I'm going to show you here. Now you're fighting vampires, because why not? But if you notice here, there's actually different rooms here. So you're going to start here. Again, there's some guards. And then there's these two prisoners way over here, and they are having their life force like sucked out of them or something like that. Either way, they're going to die eventually. So you can decide, rush to them and try and save them, or ignore them. These other vampires, they just go away when they're done. So you can ignore them. They won't even attack you. If you go there and try to rescue the prisoner, they're going to attack you. So it's an extra fight, and it's way out of the way. What you need to do is go to these different portals here and activate them to unlock the door to again fight the guy in his lair. Now, he's going to be teleporting around and attacking you depending on who's farthest here. So you kind of have to figure out who's left at the farthest, because they're going to get attacked. And these attacks are not light. Like, he hurts bad. And you can't even attack him yet until you go through here. So you have to go through here, or in one of these doors here. But each time you do, it activates the room, and different things happen. Maybe, like in one of them, you'll be locked in, and you don't even know which one, because it is kind of random. But you're going to go in there, and it's like, oh crap, not only one of us is in there, and they're locked in there with 3 enemies now. And then you can break down the door if you need to be able to get in there, but otherwise that guy's in there alone. But you don't know which one that is, or what the other 2 events even are. I'm not even going to tell you about it. But different events are going to be happening depending on what you're doing. Again, that kind of stuff is just really, really cool. And there's a lot going on there, and you get extra XP. That's a side quest to get that. You don't have to do that. Though if you do, again, maybe these guys are helpful. Maybe doing that is good. I don't know. Just some really, really great stuff in here. Fantastic strategy into all that. And actually, I really like that the side quests are so hard. I have never played a mission where I beat all of the side quests, and like 100%. And I'm playing on normal, not nightmare or anything crazy like that. And there are some where I'm just like, I don't know if we can actually beat this. So we have to go start to beat it and then judge, okay, we're doing pretty good. Maybe we can actually do one of the side quests or something like that. And there's something we just write off right away. Like those vampires over there. Nope, we ain't doing that. There's no way. Not with him attacking us each turn and us being locked into rooms and other craziness happening there. That's just not a thing. It's not going to happen. They're just going to have to die. I have no idea who those prisoners were, how good they would have been. Don't know, because I didn't do it. So I could play it again and do it again and all that kind of stuff. So the side quests add a lot to the campaign. And I must say, this campaign is the best campaign I have ever played in a board game. Hands down. And again, I've only played the prelude to Aeon Trespass. I've only played a couple of the missions of Oath Sworn. But of the games that I own right now that I've played and played a lot of, best campaign, hands down. It has a very good story. There's a lot in this campaign tome. As you can tell, it's very thick. So you're going to be doing a ton of stuff, a ton of reading, a ton of different things. I've asked questions to different, I'll just say entities. where I get to pick, what I'm asking and how it's answering. And then I can judge like, okay, should I push that answer? Should I not? And that was just like a random thing. It's not like there's a game mechanic in the rulebook that says, here's how to do diplomacy, or here's how to like do stuff. I've met different parties. Like, I did a battle, and then this group approached me, and I have to judge like, are they good? Are they bad? Should we trust them? If so, do we trust them with the information we have, knowing that that could be against us? All that kind of stuff. And it follows through. So it's like, okay, I trusted them, but now do I give them the information? So I could trust them and not give them the information. I could trust them and give them a little bit of the information, or I could fully trust them and give them all the information. And then later on, I could decide, okay, you know what? I no longer trust them because of how they reacted here. And so all of that is just kind of, you're definitely going from point A to point B, right? It's not this game where it's like you're doing, whatever, and it's all just ridiculous. You're doing this story, and the story is the story, but how you get there, who you're doing it with, and all that kind of stuff changes. And as you can see, the map here is sprawling, and I've been up here, and I've been down here, and I recognize several of these spots. And some of these spots aren't really in the game, they're just in the lore. There's a lot about, like the world, of the place. Again, some beautiful art. I'm really interested in their RPG book because I think it'll help with some of the quests. There was a time where we had to figure out, we were trying to figure out like a password to something, and I was looking through all of this, and we reread it all, and we're like, you know what? Maybe it has to do with the Malkoran age going to the Draconic age, or maybe it has to do with the Emperor or the Arena. Maybe it's Arena. I don't know. Let's try it and find out. A lot of that kind of stuff we were really looking into. Really, really, really good. Combined with that are these location cards. Now, this is the very first one. So again, not spoiling too much here, but just how they work. So they're all going to have essentially different things you do, right? I'll read that in a bit. And this is the one they showed on the Kickstarter. Again, so I'm not spoiling anything new if you read the updates there. You'll have different puzzles. Now, pros and cons here. I love the puzzles. The puzzles are very, very hard. This one we figured out, but it's broken. It'll be fixed in the new one, but they tell you the wrong number of skulls. But just paying attention to what's being asked and what's going on here, you can figure this one out. The first one's fairly easy. The other ones, not so much. Just interesting to kind of figure it out. And then you can scan a QR code to take you to a page where you can enter it, and it'll say you got it or you didn't, which is kind of nice. But depending on what happens, depends on what happens. And then, you can talk to different people or look at that. The people you rescue, you actually get information from them depending on if you rescued them or not. I didn't rescue this guy. I have no idea what that card says. So that's also very, very cool. But some things are just, like this is just an example. Again, it's one of the very first decisions you're doing. But this kind of stuff happens a lot. Right here, you silently flee through a hole made on Eferfield's outer wall. You think you might be safe, but then a childish voice yells, "Mother!" and then some orcish crap. You turn to find 4 female orcs bathing their toddlers on a nearby pond. They look distressed. One of them comes forward, kneels and says with a rough voice, "Please spare we keep silence. Hard life here. Are all dead? Thank you, please." Now, you can decide to A, not risk the guards being alerted and kill the adult orcs. Notice they say adult orcs. Or B, give them the benefit of the doubt. You spare the orcs and run away. Whatever you do, you gotta choose, and then you draw the next card. And what you choose does matter and does change things. So I'm not gonna tell you which one does which. You're gonna have to decide for yourself what you're gonna do with that scenario, but could be bad, could be not, just depends. You will be noting things. Down here, you'll have notes and achievements. And notice I'm looking at the back of the book. This is another negative here for me. Again, it's not a huge negative, but how much would it have cost to have this page printed 10 times in the box? This is kind of silly. So you have your 4 players that you're playing in the campaign and all that. So you only do 1 per campaign. I get that. But I'm going to want to play this game more than once, especially with the side quests, the different difficulty modes, all that kind of stuff. Why did you just give me 1? Now, I went ahead and, scanned it. So you can scan it and make the pages, but I shouldn't have to do that. You should just kind of supply it. Okay, just a few last things to note here. One of the things that is kind of a bummer is enemy powers. This is one of the few that has a lot of cards, but I didn't find had enough variety for me. So again, like art is like cards. And if you notice, there's really 3 different kinds here, right? And so, for instance, you get a Bloody Chase. Villains are hastened. Attack the hero with the lowest defense within 6 squares of you. Or you might draw Death Charge. Villains are hastened. Attack the hero with the lowest HP within 6 squares of you. That's the exact same card. Or Wicked Hunt. Villains are hastened and heroes are slowed. Attack the hero whose basic attack is ranged within 6 squares of you. If not possible, use basic strategy. We're getting a little bit more advanced there. Vile Ritual. Villains are hastened and ignore effects applied by heroes on all combatants. Attack the hero with lowest defense within 6 squares of you. We're getting back to kind of similar. Villains are hastened and empowered once per turn. Attack the hero with the lowest HP within 6 squares of you. Malicious Justice. Villains are hastened. Attack the hero whose basic attack is ranged within 6 squares of you. If not possible, use basic strategy. So as you can see, I'm not going to read them all here. That's just obnoxious. But there's not as much variety here as I would have liked. I would have preferred a bit more stuff, even if I'm fine with averaging out a difficulty versus every card being fairly equal. I would have liked some that are like, wow, that's crazy strong. I didn't realize like they almost killed me in one hit there. And then the next one, it's like, oh, he kind of didn't really do a whole lot. I'd be okay with that, actually. I would just like to see some more variety in that, preferably. Now, one of the great things about the campaign, definitely better than the evil powers there, is the level up system. So when you level up, right, so you gain all this XP, and XP is team based. And so you have to decide who gets what and who does what. But you can get these level up cards, and they actually increase your stats. You can get protection, +1 defense, health, +10 health points. So that weak guy, guess what? He has 10 more health now. +1 damage and power or precision, where you get +1 to all your attack rolls. Now there are actually 4 of these cards, and while they get more expensive, you can keep them up. So if you want a very buff Qatar the Barbarian, you can give him +10 health, and then pay the, extra cost than it just costs that to get another +10 health. And then you could maybe get +1 defense, and then maybe even another +1 defense, or then another +1 defense. And suddenly has 6, 7, 8, 9 defense and some 85 health. Or maybe you want to just make him more stronger, and so he's just actually hitting more often. So he's still just weak, but he's even more of a glass cannon. Now that's just this. The other things you can do is you can buy artifacts, or you can buy scrolls, or you can even actually start getting more abilities. So he can actually get anybody else's red cards. If he can get their silver ones and have them forever, so he can have more selection. He can get their special ability cards, and it's still a one-time use. And the fact that it goes away afterwards, but you can purchase that. So you can, have him really have a trick up his sleeve, or you can go in there and you'll have 3 or 4 different special ability cards. So you can have a variety of them. Now, 2 of them are going to go away forever after you use them, but you always have that in your back pocket. There's a lot here when it comes to deciding who has what and who's equipped with what, and who has, the gloves that allow them to re-roll, and who allows them to, have the shield, or how you level up, especially because these level ups are finite. There are only 4, right? So if you have 2 people with a +2 health, +10 health, then they're all taken up. Nobody else gets that. So deciding who gets what is very, very interesting, and a very cool thing. Now they're expanding that in the next campaign, I know, but even this system I really like. It's very unique, and it's very multi-layered. Now, one last thing I want to note is just how much I love the big damage numbers. And then what do I mean by that? So often we're rolling these D6 die in these games, and we're doing, 3 damage, or the difference between what we rolled and what they did, or the amount you rolled, or just 1 damage as long as you beat it, or stuff like that. It's never a whole lot. The fact that you can start a tank with 70 health, the fact that you can do Whirlwind, which does 18 damage per hit, or that you can do something really strong, like, let's find one. Explosive Arrow. Oh, I guess none of these are really good. Oh, here we go. Oh, that's a regain. These are boring. Okay, here we go. Barbaric Rage. Barbaric Rage here. You get 26 damage. You know how fun it is to do 26 damage? You know how great it is when you combine it with his +4 damage here by being alone, so that it's actually 30 damage? Doing 30 damage just sounds awesome. You know how cool it is when you're doing it from 2 squares away? Even better. Doing these kind of things where you're doing 30 damage, I've done it in the 40s before by doing some special things, is just fun. It's great to do this and be like, you know what? That's your health now. You thought you were healthy? Nope. You're here now. Oh, you healed up? Oh, you only healed up that much. I don't know. Like, the fact that your range is this adds a lot more dynamic, because notice it goes red in the 20, and you can be there for a while. You can get really hurt, especially if you're weaker, right? And so you're here, you're at 18 health. At 18 health, you feel like you could either survive a while, because that's still 18 health, and sometimes they're only doing, 11 damage or 6 damage or something like that. Or they could have a big attack and they do 26 damage and just kill you outright from 18 health. So you kind of, you live in that kind of danger zone much longer. Additionally, just the ability to just drop people like rocks like that. Or to go and be like, I have 70 damage. And you know what? Adding plus 20 damage to that is pretty awesome, right? That's pretty sweet. At that point, you're at 100, you can get up to 100 HP. It's like, that's crazy. So I really, really like that. It's something a little bit more unique to this game, and I found that I really like it. I understand that percentage-wise it might be sort of the same at times, but a higher number just sounds cooler and is just a little bit more fun. Alright guys, that's it. That's my review of Arena the Contest. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it answered maybe some of your questions, and maybe got you a little excited for the next Kickstarter for the game by Dragori Games on February 4th. Again, there'll be a link in the description below to the preview as of posting this video, and then to the Kickstarter proper once it launches. As always, a huge shout out to all of you guys for being here. You guys make this so worth it. I love the community we've built, and a huge shout out to my patrons. If you didn't know, I am going to Gen Con this year, but I could always use the support to be able to go there. It's kind of expensive when you don't live near there. And of course, I need some better equipment that is more mobile than what I have now. So got a few purchases ahead of me. So if you like what you see and you've enjoyed the videos and you've enjoyed the content and you're able to give, link in the description below to my Patreon, where that money will go to great use on the channel. All right, guys, thanks so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.